In a small village cradled deep within a valley where emerald mountains embraced the horizon, there lived a young man named Ethan. He was 24, an age when dreams blaze bright and the world feels infinite. Yet within him, a quiet storm brewed. Ethan's heart was restless. His mind flowed like a ceaseless river, thoughts of yesterday and fears of tomorrow rushing endlessly, leaving no space for calm. He felt drained by his own thinking, trapped in a storm he could not escape. Often he would sit by the window watching sunlight drift lazily across the fields, yet his heart remained burdened. The past haunted him with regret. The future filled him with dread. Sometimes he would whisper, "Why can't I be still? Why can't I smile like others do?" Night after night, he lay awake beneath the pale moon, his mind tangled in worries. Sleep abandoned him, laughter faded from his lips. In the springtime of his youth, Ethan felt like a fragile leaf caught in the wind, spinning endlessly, lost without direction. Days passed in heavy silence until one morning he overheard travelers in the market speak of a distant mountain village. They said a wise old man lived there, once a great psychologist in the city, who had guided many lost souls to peace. Now, grown old, the man had left behind the city's noise, dwelling instead in a quiet place surrounded by nature. From time to time, he shared his wisdom with those who sought stillness. Hearing this, a spark of hope flickered within Ethan. Perhaps this man could calm the storm inside him. And so one misty dawn, he packed a small bag, drew a deep breath, and began his climb into the mountains. The road was long and winding. He crossed rivers, climbed narrow paths, and walked beneath canopies of whispering leaves. Days melted into nights, yet he pressed on, guided by a fragile dream of peace waiting somewhere ahead. At last, after many days, Ethan reached the mountain village, serene and green, resting between gentle hills. Beneath the shade of ancient trees stood a small ivy-covered cottage. On its porch sat an old man, eyes closed, as though the whole world had fallen still around him. Ethan approached quietly, careful not to disturb the calm. Bowing slightly, he said softly, "Grandfather, my mind is never still. Thoughts rise and fall, and I cannot find peace. Please, can you help me?" The old man opened his eyes, calm and deep like a still lake. A faint smile curved his lips. "So," he said gently, "you are searching for peace." He rose, motioned for Ethan to follow, and led him into a small garden. There, he filled a glass with water to the very brim, so full that even a single tremor would cause it to spill. Handing it to Ethan, he said, "Walk from here to the far edge of the village and return. But remember, not a single drop must be spilled." Ethan blinked in surprise, but nodded. Holding the glass steady, he began to walk. The path was narrow, the village alive with sound, children laughing, dogs barking, merchants calling out. But Ethan saw none of it. His eyes stayed fixed on the trembling surface of the water. Step by step, he moved carefully, each breath controlled, each motion deliberate. Villagers watched in silence, sensing a quiet lesson unfolding. When he finally returned, Ethan smiled faintly. "Grandfather," he said, "I did it. Not a drop was spilled." The old man nodded, smiling gently. "That's good," he said. "But tell me, did you see the children playing? Did you hear the dogs or the wind in the trees?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I noticed nothing but the glass." The old man's smile deepened. "And that," he said, "is the secret. The peace you seek was never far. It has always lived within you, beneath the noise of your thoughts. When the mind rests in the present, there is no fear, no past, no future. While you watched the glass, your mind grew still. You weren't lost in memory, nor anxious for what's ahead. You were simply here, alive in this moment." Ethan stood silent as the truth sank into his heart. He finally understood. Peace was not something to be found outside. It had always lived within him, waiting to be noticed whenever he chose to be present. He bowed deeply. "Grandfather, now I see. To quiet my mind, I must keep it here, in this moment. That is where true peace begins." The old man smiled once more. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and crimson. Birds returned to their nests, and the soft wind carried the scent of dusk. Ethan turned to leave. His steps were light, his heart calm. No longer the restless soul lost in endless thought. He had changed. Inside him, silence bloomed, gentle, steady, alive. And as he walked down the fading path in twilight, he smiled. Not because the world had changed, but because he had.